Natasha basically is someone who is an expert on the topic that she's going to be delivering. She comes with 20 plus years of experience in the field of personal and spiritual development. She facilitates transformational experience based on practical and proven techniques of NLP, somatic coaching, mindfulness, and wisdom from the world. And today, Natasha wants us to believe that every one of us can get a job. All we need is the right mindset, a clear strategy, and effective way of using the tools. And she's all about explaining to us what this is all about. So I'm not going to take much time because we have so much to learn from her today. So I'm going to invite Natasha to share her screen and take us through the day today. Welcome, Natasha. One second, we just unmute Natasha, please.
Yes, unmuted. Thank you, Anita. Thank you so much, Anita, for such a warm introduction. And I cannot say how excited and delighted I am to be with all of you here today. I have attended empowerment talks, and I've been really impressed by the quality and the caliber of the inspirational speakers that have been there. So I feel very humbled to be joining the speakers who have been on the Career Thursday talks. And as Anita said, today I'm going to talk about putting the personal back into personal branding. I'm going to bring a little different flavor into the mix, which is based on what I've learned and what I've experienced. And I would love you to be interactive. So there'll be times when I'll invite you to just drop some responses into the chat. So please do, because I will read them. I'm seeing Abel saying warm welcome. Thank you, Abel. But let me just say a little bit more about me, because actually I was having a wonderful conversation with Anita this week, and I was explaining to her how I got to be here, how I got to be a career coach for the Happy at Work agency and a life coach too. So I come from a small town in England called Glastonbury. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of that town. It doesn't matter if you haven't. If you have, you can drop it into the chat. But Glastonbury is a very unusual country town because it is full of the traditions of myths and legends in connection to King Arthur and the whole of that period of history. And so people come from all over the world to visit Glastonbury, little tiny town of Glastonbury. And they come not really just as tourists, but they come as seekers, as pilgrims, because many people regard Glastonbury as a very spiritual and holy place. So I had the most amazing job living in Glastonbury. I worked at a beautiful sanctuary, a garden in which was an ancient holy well. And we had over 50,000 visitors a year come through the gates. And my job was to be responsible for all of the program of public events. These are huge festivals and celebrations that were open to all people from all paths and spiritual traditions coming together to experience that sense of being connected, connecting with the things that really matter, finding that sense of community, and really appreciating the sacred and the divine in the beauty of nature. I mean, and this was my dream job. I was also responsible for the educational programs. So I delivered workshops, retreats, and training programs in personal and spiritual development. That's where I grew my experience as coaching. I trained practitioners and complementary therapists. And I was also involved in mentoring young people at risk in the community as well. I created a program to help with employability for them. So it was my perfect dream job. And actually, I was in this job for 20 years. I worked for the organization for 20 years, and I kind of went through management, senior management. I was the general manager, and then I moved after I had my children into projects and development. And then what happened? I mean, you can guess. Can everyone guess what happened? I'm going to ask you to drop it into the chat. Yes, Anita. COVID happened. And it's a charity that takes care of this very special place. And of course, funds and funding suddenly became really limited. People could no longer visit the gardens. They had to look at their finances. And unfortunately, they had to take a decision to cut the staff. And so, totally unexpected, I really sadly lost my dream job. But this is the interesting thing. Now, I'm just actually, before I tell you what happened next, I'm really interested to know how many people are in the situation where you are currently looking at either you're facing possibly losing your job, or you have lost your job, or you're looking for work and it's difficult in these COVID times. Just drop into the chat. Anyone who is really resonating with this situation. Yeah.
Some people are raising their hands.
Yeah, and they're raising their hands too. I see you. I feel you. I know what this is like, looking for opportunities. And you know, this isn't just here. This is happening all over the world. It's global. And you know, amidst the shock of it all, it was one of my colleagues who had a conversation with me, and he's the head gardener, a wonderful man, and he said, Natasha, do you know where the origin of the word redundancy comes from? And of course I had to say no, I didn't know. He said, well, it comes from the Latin. It comes from the Latin word redundare, and it means to rise like a wave again.
Wow.
And in that moment, something for me changed. Something shifted. I realized that, you know, I had a choice. I could either choose to define myself as surplus to requirements or no longer needed, or I could take the opportunity to rise again, to stay with the things that I'm passionate, which is really about helping people grow and develop and pivot and find a whole new path in life. And it was literally within 24 hours that I had a phone call from the Happy at Work agency out of the blue, asking if I wanted to join their international team. And it happened like that. So since losing my job, I have been very, very busy in career coaching and also in life coaching as well. But I wanted to share that story with you because I think it's really important that we don't lose sight of hope. I think it's really important that we don't define ourselves by the circumstances and the situation that we find ourselves in. Absolutely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you I think what is the core strategy, the core of what has now become the RISE program. Because out of this, we've developed a special program for people who are finding themselves in the situation to help them get back into work, to find a job they love. And what I'm going to share with you today is really what's at the heart of it. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, there we are. And I'm going to get the chat up. You can see. So can everybody see that clearly? Can you see that okay?
Yes, it's clear.
Good. So wonderful. I'm going to talk to you today about, I called my talk, Talents, Purpose, Passion, Putting the Personal Back into Personal Branding. So now if I click this, I'm hoping, there. I'm going to start with a story. Very short story, because I just told you a story. This is a very short story. It's a story of a little girl who absolutely was passionate about being a ballerina. She'd seen all these wonderful dancers on her grandmother's black and white television set. She'd seen Margot Fonteyn was her absolute idol. And she wanted to be a ballerina. And she absolutely loved to dance. The reason she loved to dance was not because she wanted to shine on a stage, was because she felt so alive when she was dancing. And she realized that when she was dancing, people would watch her and they would light up with the biggest smiles on their faces. And she knew that that's what she loved most about dancing, was seeing people light up and find that sense of joy. So she followed her dream to be a dancer, and she went to ballet classes with a ballet teacher. But sadly, one day, a ballet teacher, and she was approaching sort of about the age of 13, and she wanted to pursue ballet dancing as a career. Her ballet teacher turned to her and she said, "Natasha, I'm so sorry. You are a lovely dancer, but you will never have the body and physique that's needed to be a dancer. You are too big boned. It's not for you." And in that moment, this little girl's dreams just fell apart. And she saw, you know, everything kind of crumble around her, and she let go of that dream. She let go of that dream of being a dancer. But that spark inside her to make people light up and shine with joy never left her. So that's an introduction to the story, and I will be coming back to that story later in my talk. But what I really want to share with you today, these are the things I'm going to cover. I want to share with you how to see yourself differently. I want to share with you knowing your talents. I want to ask you to consider, what do you offer? I'm going to cover personal brand statement, and where all of this that I'm going to share with you today is going to be useful. So the first thing I want to share with you, this is really at the core of what I would say the idea of your personal brand is you need to change the way you see yourself. So most people, when they are looking for work, they see themselves as a job seeker, desperately looking for work. I would say take the word desperately out, but they're a job seeker needing a job, needing someone to give them a job. Okay, this is the typical, absolutely ordinary situation that everyone who is looking for work considers themselves to be a job seeker needing to find a job. Oh, I've gone backwards. Okay. But instead of seeing yourself as a job seeker looking for work, consider seeing yourself as a solutions provider. Consider seeing yourself as a solutions provider. So tip number one, you are a solution provider. Okay, if any of you've got a pen and paper here, I'd say write this down. Okay, you are not a job seeker. You are not a job hunter asking for a job. You are a solution provider. Okay. Tip number two, every job exists to solve an organizational problem. Now, what I mean by problem, this is a definition of problem. A problem is a matter that needs attention, needs to be dealt with or resolved. And a problem is a difficulty or a challenge needing to be overcome. So if we think about this, every job that exists within an organization exists to solve an organizational problem. Okay. So if you think of your organization when it's looking to recruit someone for a job, this is the organization. They're going, we need someone to come and help us solve this problem. We need someone to come and help us sort out these matters, sort out these problems, overcome these problems, attend to the things that need attending to. And you, as a in terms of a personal brand, are the solution provider. This is what everyone is looking for, someone to come in and take care of things. So organizations are not just looking for the right person. They are looking for a solution to their problems. Okay, so I want you to write that down. Organizations are not just looking for the right person, they are looking for a solution to their problems. So I'll ask you, what solution are you? And also then consider, what organizations might need this? Okay, this is a really key question. These are two key questions to be asking yourself when you are looking to find a job, or even if you are in a job and looking to change and advance your career. Really, I can't say this clearly enough. Think about what solution are you and what organizations need this. So I'm going to break this down a little bit more. To know what solution you are, you need to know your talents. Your talents are a key to the solution you provide. Now, I heard Jasmine's amazing talk a couple of weeks back, and I was so reminded me that when HR managers and recruiters are looking to find someone for a job, they call it talent acquisition. And it struck me and I thought, that word talent is in the phrase talent acquisition. So what is it exactly that they are looking to acquire? So I'm going to talk to you about our understanding of what talents are. And before I do that, it is possible that you might not fully be aware of your talents. Okay, a lot of people don't realize the full extent of the talents that they actually have. And there are some reasons for this. And I'm just going to go through these reasons why you might not know your talents right now. So, reason number one, you weren't taught how. So, I mean, this is fairly typical. We weren't taught to know what our talents were. This is something that is learnt. This is something that we learn, to know what our talents are. The first reason why you might not know is simply because you weren't taught to know what your talents were. We don't focus so much on innate talents. We tend to focus on acquiring skills. We tend to focus on acquiring competencies, and those are the things that we tend to be told that that's what we need to develop, and that's what we are. We are our skills and our competencies. But talents are innate, natural talents, and I'm going to explain what those are later, are the things that are often overlooked. And how we see ourselves, what shapes how we see ourselves. We see ourselves very much through the lens of others. And so this is just a little kind of diagram about how pretty much everyone generally sees themselves. We see ourselves, first of all, through the lens of what our family shows us, what our family tells us who we are. And then we see ourselves through the lens of what we're told we are in school, who we are in school. And then it's our community who tell us what we are and how they see us. And then more wider than that, there's the culture, the community and the culture that we live in that determines our identity and who we think we are, because we're looking through the lens of others in terms of how they see us. But they might not always be seeing or reflecting back to us what our talents are. So you might not know your talents because you weren't taught how. The other reason why you might not know your talents is because we spend our lives always looking at the ways that we don't fit in. Because one of the basic human needs is this sense of connection and belonging. It's a natural human need to want to belong to something, to want to be part of something, to want to be connected. And so because of that, we always look at the ways we don't fit in so that we adjust, so that we can be part of being belonging and being connected. And we have this thing, don't we, called comparisonitis. I don't know if you've come across that. When we look at other people or we look at groups of people and say, well, I'm not that, I'm not this, I don't have that, I don't have this. And we're so
I
guess we lost her.
Yeah, video's frozen.
Yeah, she should be getting back.
Yeah.
Let's just hang on to it.
It's been
In the
interesting.
meanwhile, in the meanwhile, if people have questions, you can probably start pushing your questions with whatever she's spoken. She was talking about treating us as a resource for solutions.
What are you looking for? How are you going to discover your talent? How do you see yourselves? How do you discover yourself? Yes, we're too busy looking at what organizations pay well and then get stuck in the rat race till one day we are made redundant. But as she said, being redundant is nothing but rising like a wave. So we take it as an opportunity. Sometimes we're pushed from situations which actually are not serving us, but we're just being there because it suits us, it makes us feel good. So Santosh, just make sure when you see Natasha come back, just let me know, please. Stephen also, any one of you.
Just try to get in touch with her.
Yeah, you can just message her. Maybe there's a network shortage. So she has a lot of takeaways, giveaways, as you call it, at the end. So when she comes back and she finishes the presentation, she will be talking about that. And we will be sharing the links. Maybe we could share her LinkedIn links meanwhile. Stephen, if you could just share that, it will be helpful.
Yes, I will share it.
I guess this is how disruptive the online world is, right? We cannot plan anything like this. So we'll have to just be patient. I guess many of the people, I see a lot of people mentioning about the rat race, till before COVID, I think none of us realized that it's a rat race and this was not what we wanted. But COVID has opened our eyes and made us realize we have so much of more potential in things that we never thought of. So it's interesting. Thank you so much, Stephen, for sharing Natasha's LinkedIn. She's also shared her email ID. So in case anyone wants to get in touch with her, she does one-on-one coaching. So how many of us here present today? I can see her, she's coming. I'll just admit her. I think we've got back Natasha now. Can we unmute her?
I'll make Natasha co-host. Just give me a second, Natasha.
Oh my goodness.
Natasha, so happy to see you back again.
Sorry, I don't know.
I was doing a bad job of being you.
I'm so relieved to be back. I can't tell you. So I'm just keeping.
Thank you so much.
We are going to. That's never happened before. So anyway,
this is all about the disruptive inertia, which you're talking about, maybe.
something's going on. So what I need to do is share my screen again.
Yes, please.
So let's go back to where we are. Here we go. We were at Donald Clifton. Okay, and I'll just get the chat up as well. Okay, thank you so much for being patient with me. Right, so now, have any of you heard of Donald Clifton? Marcus Beckingham. So Donald Clifton, and I'm going to share with you one of his books, which I think is the most fantastic resource to help you really drill down and know your talents. But Donald Clifton, he describes a talent as any recurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. Okay, any recurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. And I'm going to explain, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that. That is his definition of talent. Let me hope I can do this again. So yeah, so this book, I absolutely recommend it to you. It's called Now Discover Your Strengths, Marcus Buckingham and Donald Clifton. Now, what they 80,000 people to really discover what core talents, strengths are. And they created this whole system called Strengths Finder, which is now run by a company called Gallup online. So much of what I'm going to be sharing with you now in terms of the principles comes from the work of Marcus Buckingham and Donald Clifton. This is a great book. It shows you how to develop your unique talents and strengths and those of the people you manage. So if you're in management, oh, it's a study of over 2 million people now. It's gone up. Study of over 2 million people. So this is absolutely a brilliant resource. So talent, knowledge, and skills combine to create your strengths. Because you notice the book was called Now Find Your Strengths. But talent, knowledge, and skills combine to create your strengths. So skills is something that we are much more familiar with. I mean, this is skills and competencies often are the things that in the recruitment process, you know, people want to see demonstrated. There's this kind of checklist of skills and competencies for any job. While that's absolutely key and vital that you are able to demonstrate and evidence your skills and knowledge, everyone who is applying for a job is actually doing the same thing. I mean, it is like an exercise. We've got these ATS systems, these digital recruitment systems now that literally scan your CV for those keywords that are indicating that you have the strengths and competencies to be able to do the job. But at the end of the day, it's not the digital system that selects the candidate that will get the job. That is just one part of the initial screening process. Because at the end of the day, it's still going to be a human being, the recruiter, who will probably have a selection of CVs that the system has put in front of them, and they will then determine which are the ones they're going to shortlist. Now, the question is, how do they decide which ones to choose? And I'm going to suggest to you that the way to stand out from the crowd, the way to make a difference, is really to be able to showcase within your CV, as part of your personal brand, your talents. Okay, I'm going to show you a little way to do that as we move forward. So let me just explain the difference between talents, knowledge, and skills, all of which combine to show your strengths. So a talent is a naturally recurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior. Knowledge consists of facts and lessons learned. And skills are the steps in an activity. It's the ability to do the steps in an activity. Now, both the knowledge and skills can be learnt, but a talent is something that is innate and natural. But you need the combination of talents, knowledge, and skills to really be able to identify your strengths and then leverage them within what we're calling a personal brand. I think it's your strengths, your talents, your strengths that are really in the heart of your personal brand offer. Remember, at the beginning, we were talking about what is the solution that you offer, because you are a solution provider. What is the solution you offer? What is the value and the contribution that you are going to bring to the organization? Well, it lies in your talents. It lies in your talents. And it's, you know, the whole process is called a talent acquisition. Thank you. Santosh has put a wonderful PDF on the in the chat for you to download. That's just brilliant. Okay. So your talents are innate, whereas skills and knowledge must be acquired through practice. Okay, that's the difference. So how do we identify your talents? So I'm gonna ask some questions here. These are some questions that we use in our personal branding program to help people really identify their talents. So the first question, and actually I'm going right back to the beginning of the story that I told you. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? So I want you to put that in the chat. What did you want to be when you grew up? Anyone wants to share? You dare share? An astronaut, wonderful. A teacher, a painter, an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a librarian, outstanding personality. Still not sure. A doctor. Great. So these are all an artist. So these are all, as a child, we're so open to the world. As a child, we just follow our natural flow, our natural rhythms, our natural interests without any inhibitions. We have these dreams and these aspirations based on how it is we see ourselves in the world, what it is we see ourselves want to be doing. So this is an indicator of where your talents might lie. As I shared with you, I wanted to be a dancer, not because I wanted to be visible and show off on stage. It's because I loved being able to light people up with joy. I wanted to make people smile. So it is a talent if you derive some satisfaction from it. So it is a talent if you derive some satisfaction from it, okay? So, you know, as a child, we only really want to do the things that satisfy us, don't we? We don't want to do the things that don't. We're very clear on that. I know my children are very clear. So the next question you can ask, this is a good one. What surprises you that other people find difficult to do? So what is it you can do that you think, how come that person finds that so difficult to do? So I know that there's something that my husband finds really easy to do that I just find absolutely impossible. And that is, he is able to pack the boot of a car. I will look at all the things that need to go in the boot of the car when we're traveling. And I'm like, there is no way that those are going to fit. It just doesn't work. And yet magically, he has this ability to be able to get absolutely everything neatly organized in the boot of a car. Organize things, great. So that's a question to ask yourself. What surprises you that other people find difficult to do? So something like, you may find it really easy to read maps. I find it impossible. I cannot read maps. Thank goodness for sat-nav is what I say. But I find it really easy to cook a recipe from scratch, like to cook a meal with no recipe. That's what I mean. So I know what something will taste like just by looking at the ingredients, and I don't have to read a recipe to know how to cook the dish. That's just something I know how to do. Okay, so I'd like you might want to give some thought to that. Reading books and solving maths, great. Those are great examples. Yeah, you find it really easy to read books and really easy to solve maths. Now, I know some people that just, won't be able to sit down and read a book for 5 minutes. They'd much rather, do something else. So ask yourself that question. Have a consider of that question. What surprises you that other people find difficult to do? Because your talents will feel natural and logical to you. Okay. Third question. What skills do you find quick and easy to learn? You can see I've already got the answer underneath that one. But what skills do you find quick and easy to learn? It's kind of similar to the last question, but slightly different. So when you think about, maybe in your education, what were the subjects you found really easy, like an absolute doddle, compared to some subjects that you really struggled with? So what were the subjects? What were the skills that you find quick and easy to learn? Like, did you find it easy to learn how to drive? Did you find it easy to learn how to speak a language? Psychology, linguistics, anything related to technology and computers. This is brilliant. Yes. Science. Yes. Great. Art. There we are. See, they're all very different, aren't they? So something that someone will find easy to learn, another person might find really difficult to do that. But your talents give you a natural ability to learn certain skills quickly and easily. So fourth question, this is a good one. What do you enjoy doing? What gives you energy? So when you think of, let's think about this in terms of like work, our work and the jobs that we do, or jobs that we have done if we're not in a job at the moment. What is it that we really enjoy doing and what gives us energy? Talking to people, fantastic. It's a really great example. Music and painting. Giving feedback, excellent. Yes. What do you enjoy doing and what gives you energy? Those are lovely examples. Art. Music always rocks. Creating sometimes. I love that. What we know, teach them to do better. Fantastic. So a natural talent is something you feel passionate about doing. It will light you up, okay? Interacting with people. So I can see that in the answers. This is very congruent. It's correlating. Excellent. So the last question, and there are more questions, but I'm only doing 5 with you today. What do you find you help others with? Or what do others ask you for help with? So when people come to you asking for help, what is it that you help others with? What do others ask you for help with? Being an influencer. Great. Any other things that you find people help you with? They come to you for advice. They come to you about money, research, medicines. Fantastic. Our talents are often where we have no hesitation in showing up for others. So if someone comes to ask us particularly for help, or we naturally find ourselves helping, it's our natural inclination to help someone with something is very much an indication of where our talents might lie to. Great. So those are just 5 questions, and the great thing is I know this is, if you want to recheck on this will be available on the replay afterwards, so you want to go back and look at them. But I really invite you to give some time, to give some thought into asking these questions, because out of these questions you'll begin to see a pattern. You'll begin to see where your natural and innate talents might lie. So right, I'm going to move on to where is this useful. So I'm moving straight in now to, because I am aware of time as well, Anita. So I'm moving fast pace into your CV, okay? So at the top of everyone's CV, generally, I would say these days, we would put a statement, a personal statement. And I would suggest that you put what we call a personal brand statement. Something which tells the person reading who you are, the talents that you have, and the value that you offer. Now, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. When I was in the general management of the organization that I work for, I was responsible for recruiting the staff. And I must have seen, in the years that I did it, I must have seen hundreds, if not into the thousands of applications and CVs, and interviewed a fair few hundred for jobs within the organization in my time. And you know, so the question is, what is it that stood out for me? What is it that made me decide that this was the person that I was going to see for interview, as opposed to this was the person I wasn't? In fact, when the CVs came, we didn't have ATS system in those days. It was a very simple system. I had 3 piles, okay? CVs would come in and I would have an absolutely yes pile, a definitely no pile, and a maybe pile. And if it was in a maybe pile, I'd go back and look at the maybe pile afterwards and decide whether it was a yes or a no. But depending on how strong the yes pile was, if I had lots of yeses, maybes might find themselves a no. But the difference that made the difference was really when I actually got to see the person, who they were, what they stood for, and what were they going to bring, what were they going to contribute to my organization, how were they going to help me as the manager of my organization and the team be able to deliver the strategy and the activities of the organization. So I was looking, and it was the personal statement was the first thing I read, and that was the thing that really got me hooked into an applicant and their CVs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some examples of personal statements. All right, now I've got a slight smile because I know what I'm doing here. And I mean, you're looking at this statement here, okay? And these are CVs that I've gotten off the internet. All right, these aren't people I know, but these are just CVs that I've gotten on the internet, these examples. So I want you to have a look at this one, and I will honestly have a look at it and just say, that's a personal statement. What do you think? There's no right, wrong answer here. If that person came across your desk as part of, like, you were responsible for recruiting them to be a fashion blogger, would they excite you at all? Self-praising, no, absolutely. You can see, can't you? The self-praising, that absolutely spot on. Self-praising, no, because what are they not doing? And Dr. Nabila, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. They're talking about themselves. They're not talking about what they can do for the organization. Okay, they're talking about themselves, not what they can do for the organization. Now, here's another one. All right, this is the personal statement. Objective. So I'm trying not to laugh. Objective. A position in IT management. Summary of qualifications. So you can just, I'm sorry if it's a little bit blurred, but I kind of screen grabbed these. Honestly, I would say this is better. But when you put that your objective is your objective is not what they can do for the organization, it's what they want out of this process, isn't it? And so I would just say to anyone, whatever you do, do not put objective. You know, what I'm looking to find a job, I need a job. Remember that slide at the beginning where that person's like, I am a job seeker needing a job. No, just put across through that. Don't do that. There's a little bit more in here. I think the last point where they're saying a little skilled in developing and maintaining a broad vision, cultivating excellent relationships. Well, that sounds great. That sounds like they've got some competencies, but honestly, it would be like any other CV that might come across the desk, that personal statement. The person would need to read, you know, deeper and longer, really, to decide whether that was the right person. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you now. This is a personal statement of, actually, this is a client, someone that I worked with, and they were writing the CV for their first job. Okay, they'd never been in employment and they didn't have a CV, and we worked applying the whole process, personal branding process, and we worked and we crafted this personal statement. So I'll read it out to you. I am a creative individual who brings artistic flair and strategic thinking to creative and graphic design companies. They'd had some work experience for a graphic designer company. I am determined and resilient and have overcome personal challenges such as family bereavement and homelessness to ensure that I still got a secondary education, and am proud to have achieved 7 GCSE qualifications above grade C. On the streets, I learned to be adaptable, resourceful, a good communicator. I am able to work to brief, and my life's experience has given me a practical approach to solving problems. So the reason I wanted to share that with you is because you can see the person in that personal statement. They are revealing to them, to you, the challenges they face, but also their achievements, what they have overcome. And as a result, what it is, they've identified what it is that they would be able to bring to that organization. So they're currently in a probationary period at the moment for a graphic design company, which is absolutely delightful. But it just shows that even if you think, this person came to me and they said, I have nothing. All my life, I have been told I'm no good. And the lowest of the low was when I found myself on the streets and I had nothing. I was homeless. So I asked them the question, like, what do you feel is your greatest achievement? What is it that for you, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, what is it that your greatest achievement is for you? And so they told me their story about being homeless, having, family breakdown through family bereavement, and they still every single day took themselves to school to make sure that they got their GCSE qualifications. And I thought, wow, that is the sort of person that someone wants to work for them in their organization, because that person shows the ability to be resilient, to be resourceful, to be adaptable. And when I read this back to them, I said, look, it looks like this. How do you feel? They just had tears in their eyes and they said, nobody has ever seen me that way before. But this is powerful, isn't it? This is the sort of profile that will get you noticed. Now, that's quite an unusual example. But I wanted to share with you another example. And this is someone who I was working with on the RISE program, okay? So we delivered the RISE program. It is a 3-step redundancy program to help people find their resilience, to leverage their talents, to create their personal brand and find a job they want. And we go in and we deliver this as Happy at Work. We deliver this to corporate organizations that are making people redundant as part of their outplacement. So we were working for a charity that were having to make their team redundant, much for the same reasons that I lost my job, because funding was cut short. And one of the participants was this person here. And in the coaching, this is where we asked them to bring their CV and where they were. So this is where they started. This is their personal profile. I'll read it out. Creative and enthusiastic program manager with coaching and mentoring skills and extensive experience working with young people to empower them to achieve their full potential. Empathetic with a deep understanding of issues facing young people. I am confident at listening effectively, signposting and coaching to support positive change. I'm an excellent communicator who works well under pressure, demonstrating resilience and determination to succeed. I'm passionate about taking on new challenges and self-development, and I'm currently studying for a level 4 counselling qualification to develop my skills further. Now, I think that's pretty good. I think that's a really good, solid and interesting personal statement. But I knew it could be better. I knew it could be improved. So we applied a lot more of the processes and techniques that we use on personal branding, and we worked with them, and this is where we ended up. I'm going to move this over so I can read. So I believe that every person, regardless of their starting point, has unique talents to offer and the potential to thrive when offered the right conditions for growth. I deliver effective programs within the charity sector to break down the barriers that young people from less advantaged backgrounds experience. Drawing on coaching, mentoring, and counselling skills to build strong relationships, I work with young people to explore who they are, where they are now, and support the process of making well thought out and achievable plans to get them where they want to be. I work creatively to find solutions that work for organisation, developing person-centred delivery models that transform the outcomes for young people, meet programme deliverables, and maximise opportunities for organisational growth. You can see the difference. You see the difference. Now that profile has gotten that person 6 interviews already. And this is in less than 3 weeks in applying. This is a very, it's a very saturated market. They've had 6 interviews, and in fact, they've had 2 job offers, but they've turned them down because they're not fully aligned with who they want to be and what they want to do. But they have having this personal statement, having this personal brand statement, which really clearly highlights their talents, It highlights their offer, the contribution they're going to make to the organization, and this is another thing that it includes, is what they believe in, what they stand for. Now, I'd encourage you to consider, what is it that you stand for? What is it that really matters to you? And to consider using that in your personal statement, because what you stand for, what you believe, is also part of your personal brand, your values and your beliefs. It's part of your personal brand. So with this, their confidence absolutely grew, and they have this unshakable confidence that they are absolutely going to get the job they love. So instead of feeling completely surplus to requirements, no longer needed by the organization, they are now really excited about what the future holds and what's in store for them. And they're doing really well. We're continuing that relationship of coaching with them, and I have no doubt that imminently they're going to get the job that they want. So that is, that's a little further down the road, but I wanted to give you an illustration of where this can really lead to. I haven't even gotten into the depth of the CV either. We haven't got time to do that today. But this is a really good starting place. Okay, so this is a little template for you that I wanted to, I've just made the chat huge. I wanted to share with you. So you can start with this statement. I, your name, am what you are, and I help the sort of organizations, people that you help or that you want to help. These are the organizations you really want to work for. I've seen sometimes in the chat, organizations have come up in the chat box that people really want to, you screenshot it, well done, really want to work for. Okay, so this is where you start to begin to do, like, who are my dream organizations? Who are the organizations that I'm aligned with in terms of my values, in terms of my beliefs, in terms of their ethos, but also that I know I can bring value and I can make a contribution to the organization with the talents and the strengths that I have. Okay, so these are the people you want to help. To be able to, what is it that you're going to be able to help them to do? Or what is it to help them with? What is the ability? What problem can you solve? Okay, so put that in there. By, then you put in how you solve it, how you do it, so that they can, really important, what are the results they can get? So that profile that you saw previously was based on this template, this blueprint. It was just extrapolated and kind of expanded a little bit more, but this is the core template. And I'll tell you people, this is absolutely gold. And let me just give you a progressional example. This is part of my closing because I know timing, we've been a while, Anita. This is part of the progressional example. So this is, here's one for me as a career coach, okay? This is me. So I'm trying to have to move this so I can read it. This is where we start. I help professionals discover their talents and find matching job opportunities so they have a clear focus and can find the job that they truly love and that matches their personality. Okay, so that's the starting point. Let's just take it one step further. Here we go. So I help professionals discover their talents and find matching job opportunities using, this is how I help them, a unique personal brand methodology. Now we're going to move into results. With this structured approach, they get a clear focus and can find the job that they truly love and that matches their personality. So I'm just going to extrapolate this one final place. I'm going to bring in the beliefs and the values now. You can see. I believe each human being has their unique contribution to make. I'd love for each person to find true happiness at work. I believe professional growth is about focusing on your strengths, not fixing your weaknesses. You were born to stand out, not fit in. I help professionals discover their unique talents and find matching job opportunities using a structured 5-step personal brand methodology so that they can find a job that they truly love. So that's what that template looks like when it's when it's expanded. And what I would say is this is a personal brand statement, and it's the same. You can use this as part of your personal profile statement at the head of your CV. You can use this on your LinkedIn profile. You can use this on your social media profile, and you can even take some of this and use this in your application letter. But I'm hoping that you are seeing why it's really important to be able to identify what it is that is your unique talent. And when you combine those with your skills and your knowledge, that determines what your strengths are. And to think that you are not a job seeker needing a job. You are a solutions provider who is going to bring value and to bring opportunity to an organization by helping them solve the problem and deal with the matters that arise. And you, in this statement, are showing them the results that you can get and how you are going to do that. But you're also showing them something personal. This is the personal in personal branding. You're also showing them something about you. And that is what is going to make you stand out from the crowd, because there is no one else like you out there. You are absolutely unique. So you need to find a way within your personal brand statement to really shine in the uniqueness and the talents and the strength that you are. And trust me, that will be seen. When you do it like this, that will be seen. So I got some. And just, for those of you listening going, rabbits in a headlight, your strong personal brand statement is a work in progress. Okay, so it's not a kind of click your fingers and get it overnight. This is something you need to think about. This is something you need to work on. And obviously it develops and it grows as you do. So for those of you that want to connect with me, you can connect with me via LinkedIn. I'm just going to say a few more things, and I think we're open to some questions. I have a free, actually I should have put a screenshot of it, but I have a free PDF download, which I did particularly for people that have lost their jobs, and it's called Resilient, Not Redundant. 5 steps to rise, thrive, and find a job you love. And if you like that free PDF, it's a workbook, actually. It's a 5-step workbook in there. It takes you through a series of steps to really help you find your resilience and get really clear on what it is you want and your purpose, and gives you a sense of direction of travel. If you would like me to send you that, really happy for you to connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can email me. For those who might be interested in the Rise Redundancy Program, that is the web link there. You can go onto that link and you can find out more information about Rise, but also about the one-to-one coaching program that we do. And one of the things that I offer is a personal branding coaching program. So the subject of the talk today, putting the personal back into personal branding, is actually part of a 5-step methodology that I use to help people get really clear on their personal brand. And that consists of, you have access to an online training program on an online portal, and you have one-to-one coaching sessions with me. And as part of that, we have a CV elevation methodology as well, where we really go in and we prime your CV. So if that's something that's of interest to you, do connect with me. I'm going to offer a special 20% discount to Dubai Job Hunt people. So you can connect with me. And, in the first instance, we can just have a clarity call to talk things through and to see what you need. So I would love for you to connect with me. I'd love to meet more of you. And any way I can help you at all in your personal branding and, truly shining in the joy and the light and the brilliance that you are, I am absolutely here for you. Anita, I'll stop sharing my screen now. Okay.
Thank you so much, Natasha. That was really amazing. I mean, the questions that you put on the slides, I will have to go back to the YouTube, and I'm going to be answering those questions for myself for sure, because they're so in-depth. And I think each of us need to look internally, discover our talent. It doesn't matter what stage of career you are. And as you rightly said, it's all about rising from every moment. Nobody should be telling us that you can't dance or you can't do these things. We can do everything that we set up for. And it's all about believing in ourselves. So this was a brilliant session. Thank you so much. And Thank you for also the takeaways, the workbook which you have mentioned. For the one-on-one coaching, I would suggest anyone who's interested can get in touch with Santosh or Wenzel from our team, so that everyone shouldn't be going to Natasha directly. We can make sure that, that our number of people who are interested, we can ask them to reach out to you directly through one of our team members.
Yeah, no problem.
And for the workbook, they are happy.
A sort of personal brand clarity call as well will start, and that's free. So the first call is free, and then we can see what might be needed, what might be helpful from there.
So whoever's interested in the one-on-one call, clarity call, we are more than happy to help you by reaching out to Natasha through us. So you can contact Santosh for that.
Right.
And I have so much of takeaways from this session, but I do have still the question which I was asking you about: what is midlife inertia disruption? What is exactly? If you could just give a little bit of insights on that. What do you do in that? What is it all about?
So what that is? So I turned 50 this year. So that is a bit of a milestone. And I thought when I was 49, I thought, oh, it's no big deal. Age is just a number. And then 50 approached, and I thought, oh my goodness me, I'm like halfway through my life. And what I realized is I haven't even begun to achieve the dreams that I had when I was younger. And I know that I'm not done yet. There is so much more in life that I want to achieve, so many more people I want to help, much greater impact I want to make on the world. But it was very easy. I was doing a job that I loved. And, I was very happy in that job. In some sense, I could have just stayed there in that really kind of comfortable zone, and I probably would have carried on working there, probably until retirement. So in some ways, the redundancy was a blessing, because it made me realize that I was almost in danger of going into my comfort zone and inertia, and how the number of people that I've spoken to who kind of felt that they're just a bit stuck, or they're a bit lost, or they've lost their mojo and their motivation, or their life doesn't really reflect what they think they were made for. Like when they were younger, they had these dreams, and their life is nothing like that, and they're kind of feeling that sense of meh. This is what I call a midlife inertia. So this is part of the life coaching that I do. I call it the lovely life coaching, where we really have a look and we take stock, and I take people through, it's kind of this 7-step methodology to really get themselves back on purpose, to get themselves really connected in with who they're choosing to be, how they're going to show up in the world, and then we kind of create a life plan, an action plan to kind of move themselves forward from there. So I call it, I'm a midlife inertia disruptor. I just love the idea of disruption. It really tickles me. I didn't want to call it midlife crisis, because I thought that just felt a bit like, who's actually going to put their hands up and admit they're having a midlife crisis? I thought, no, it isn't really a crisis. For most people, it's not this massive kind of crashing implosion. They get inertia. They get stuck.
Sometimes people begin their life at that stage. So I guess it's a beginning. It's not a crisis.
I said that's my mantra for this year is like, turning 50 is the beginning of the best of my life. That's what I say. It's the beginning of the best of my life. In fact, you know what? Every day is the beginning of the best of your life. That's how I look at it.
That's brilliantly put. So when we talk about personal branding, if you have come to a midlife of yours and now you want to restart your life on a different note, you want to have something, is it possible for someone who's been in a career and want to have a career switch? How do they go about changing and having a different personal brand? Because people know you from what you did in the past. Now you're going to go for a revamp. What are the steps? Maybe a few tips if you could give us on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really starts with coming back to identifying what makes you you, what makes you unique, identifying your talents and your skills. And then it comes with really expanding. If you don't know what it is that you want to do, so if you're not sure where to go from here, where a lot of people they're not, it's what they are, they don't feel it's quite a fit for them. It's not quite right, or it's what they thought was a good idea at the time, and life moves and they've changed and so on. So what you need to do is, once you've identified your talents and your strengths, you can then look at where else might these talents or strengths be useful. where else might they be useful? Where would, I'm trying to think of some of the skills that were put into the chat earlier. So where would the ability to give advice, where else might the ability to give advice be useful? I mean, that was someone that they had a talent of being able to advise people and advise you. So you think about where else that might be useful. I'm sure we could think of, we just have to ask that question, and then we can already think of ideas of where that might be useful. Where would the ability of being able to really organize things in an absolutely perfect way so that they fit into a space, this is like kind of spatial awareness, being able to do that, where else might that particular talent or skill be useful or be applicable? So I think it starts with looking, and then the other thing that we do in the Happy at Work career coaching is we kind of give people a whole kind of swathe of options and sectors, and we create something. We do research. We start researching. So we look at the talents and the skills that we have. We look at what interests us, what gives us joy, what do we enjoy doing. We look at all the different sectors where we might be able to apply that job, and then we drill it down. Then we drill it down to what kind of makes us light up. And then what you have to do from there is you have to create a strategy of how you're going to get from where you are to there. And the chances are the things that you find that you light up by the idea of doing, the things that you find that interest you are going to be aligned with your talents. The sorts of organizations you want to work for are going to be aligned with your values and beliefs. So it is a question of getting really clear on that, getting really clear on your personal brand. What is it that you're offering? What is the value you bring? Because I tell you, when you know that, you can sell that to any organization that needs those talents and those strengths. That's how you pivot. That's how you do it. So, and then you have a strategy to get it. So that's where I'd start.
I guess what happens is most of the job seekers that we come across, they just apply to any jobs because the first and foremost fear is to get a job, have the money. They don't think of the long term of looking inward, liking what you do, because you sometimes take up a job and you're totally frustrated doing that. You're not even happy. So you don't want to live your life being unhappy, because end of the day, the money brings you only that much of happiness. So it's a good time to
be the job you were made for. I totally understand. This is like perfectly normal. It's what I call the kind of spray and pray approach. You kind of spray your applications to anyone that will have you. And in fact, what you're, strategically, what you're doing there is you're kind of hedging your bets. But that's going to give you less chance of landing a job, funnily enough, than more, because when you identify the lane or the direction that you want to travel in, when you get really clear on your strengths and your value, you can then really focus all of your energy, all of your strategy in walking in that direction. And because then what you're doing is you are looking at the organizations you want to work for, you are matching your innate talents and strengths and your value to what the organization is looking for. You are much more likely to get a fit and to get a job.
True.
This is what we're finding. This is what has been borne out in our RISE program, and actually in our career coaching program as well.